welcome to this Hustings. We've invited everybody that's standing in our constituency. Not everybody accepted. There's a few apologies given to us. So you can see the green ones at the end are the ones of people who didn't attend. Now, I just want to set some house rules so that make it a much more pleasant experience for everybody. The first thing is we're going to have 5 minutes for each candidate to say their piece, to say anything they want to about them and their party and what they stand for. Once they've done their 5 minutes each, we'll then go through a set of questions which came from the community. So we try to eliminate any bias from people organising by not putting questions ourselves forward. So we've had lots of WhatsApp groups that we're members of. We've put an invitation out for people to submit questions so they're truly representative of what's important to the community. That's come back, and what we've done is we've consolidated those, edited those, get rid of duplication and overlap, and hopefully I've got those about 5 or 6 categories, but let's just say some are more rich than others in terms of topic. And I think that's a reflection of how passionate people are about those subjects. All right, so what we'll do is once everybody's had their 5 minutes, we'll go around the houses and basically give everybody 1 minute, hopefully, or 2 minutes max, to answer each question. Now, what I want to do also is, when we start from one end, I want to do a round robin, so I don't want one person starting all night, and everybody's having time to reflect on how that person answered, and then go on. So what we'll do is, if we start from one person, then be the next person, then starts the next question, then the third starts the next question, the fourth, and then go around. That way everybody gets a fair crack of the whip of having a rest and getting a reflection time as well. Okay, so try to make this as fair as possible. Now, in terms of the audience, please, these people have come along, giving their own valuable time, right? And remember, they're not MPs yet, so they're not getting paid. So be nice to them, no heckling. Everybody show respect to each other. Because at the end of the day, we're a community, right? And this community likes to give each other respect, everybody in it. And I'd like you to share that with the candidates who are here as well. Okay, any questions before we get going? No? Okay, great. Would you like to go first?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll stand up, that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Would you like the mic?
Well, can you all hear me, or
yeah,
we good?
We can,
yeah. So I'm James Mutimer. I'm with George Galloway's Workers' Party. So I've come to Brent East because, as we've seen, the whole area is really run down, and that has been because of over a decade of Labour rule, where there's just been pure negligence and a lack of care, really, for residents. I've put a balloon there for Dawn Butler, who couldn't be bothered to turn up tonight. I chose a balloon because it's full of hot air and it's useless, which Dawn has proven to be for quite a long time. You walk through Stonebridge Park, you come through grass that's waist high, you're tripping over litter, broken glass. You'll leave tonight, you'll trip over paving stones. It's the pure basics that have just been left to ruin.
Agreed.
Dawn Butler is a self-proclaimed champion of equality. Is that equality in the room with us right now?
No.
When we had ladies here last week talking to us about going back to a 1-bedroom social housing apartment with a number of children there, on a waiting list for a larger apartment for over a decade. Is there equality there? Probably not. She talks about being a champion for women's rights. Do any women feel safe right now, walking the streets of Brent? There was a sexual assault down there. I don't want to politicise that, but it's wrong. And she's done nothing about that. She's done nothing about sexual assaults throughout Brent. All she's done is demonise the police and turn the constituents against the police, rather than trying to get police properly funded and properly trained to actually help the people here. You'll look down the panel. We've got some nice guys that are running, some national parties, which will offer exactly the same problem that Labour have now, where they're backed by big corporations, backed by big donors, where they can't make their own policy and actually look after the people, because it's in the interest of these big businesses and corporations and the elite, that I'd like to call them. And then we've got independents who are running from the goodness of their hearts, but at the end of the day, they'll be running on local issues, and they'll be in the House of Commons at 8 o'clock at night with an empty audience, because no one will want to listen to them, because that's the way it works for an independent candidate. Or you can vote for an independent party that is national, that can fight for the interests of the working class, of the vulnerable, on a local and national scale, and put their interests first. So as a party, we essentially stand for better social housing. We want to cut out the corruption that we're seeing that is running rife in the council and the extortion that we're seeing. We're seeing it across education, where it's a mandate to make every state school in Brent a academy by 2030. That's self-privatisation, which we've seen running rampant through healthcare also. And we need to start looking into putting more money and more power into healthcare, looking after doctors, looking after nurses, not demonising them for striking because working conditions aren't good enough. Now you'll probably be thinking, that sounds amazing, how are you going to fund it all? So essentially, unlike the other parties here that will be knocking on the door of the working class, like a 21st century King John, begging for more money, we'll be knocking on the door of the big corporations, we'll be knocking on the door of the ultra wealthy, who have both taken a lot from society but given very little back. Secondly, we'll stop funding a genocide in Gaza, where we are completely complicit, where we've seen 150,000 people murdered and maimed using our taxpayers' money when we can't even fix paving slabs outside, we can't even fund social housing properly, we can't fund education properly, we can't fund healthcare properly. And lastly, what we will look to do is renationalise key state assets. And the reason I say that, you can take energy and utilities. They would fund over half of our government expenditure every year. Why would we punish the working class to fund expenditure which is not going to the right places when we can use our actual resources as a country, like some of the richest countries in the world do, and really look after our own citizens, where we can raise that personal tax allowance from £12,000 to over £21,000 and help the poorest in society. You do have an option to vote for change, but what you need to do is use that power that you do have and vote for that change. Thank you.
Hi, good evening everyone. I'm Jonny Singh and I'm here representing the Liberal Democrats. Firstly, I want to say thank you to all of you. Thank you for giving up your time. This is what democracy is all about. It's about people like you taking time to listen to people like us and people who care about their communities. And we really care about your community and all the communities that I hope to represent here in Brent East. The Liberal Democrats are a progressive, pragmatic party that want to build and safeguard a free, fair and open society. And that word fairness is at the heart of everything that we stand for. You'll probably get sick of me through this evening talking about a fair deal, but that's what motivates me, what motivated me to get into politics and what motivates our party. Now, I don't know what James is talking about the other major parties in terms of not being able to lead on policy and not being funded by major donors. But in our party, we have a grassroots approach to policy. It's made by our members, and I've been fortunate enough to work on our international policy. My background is in international development, working with some of the poorest communities in the world affected by conflict, crisis, and migration. And from that, I've learned a lot about how we can work together, even in desperate times, to build a better future for ourselves. Now, it's clear that it's great that we've got representatives from different strands of the political spectrum, but it's obvious who's missing here, right? No Tories, no Labour. And I think that just speaks, everyone can see who's bothered to turn up here. We're the only major party here, and we are committed to taking an approach that will benefit communities all across the country. We're a national party with aspirations to be a really strong part of challenging the next government. Now, we know most likely Labour will win this time next week, we'll have a Labour government. So who do you want challenging that? The tired old Tories, folks from the margins of politics, or that pragmatic, professional party that will put your interests at the heart and put that word fairness at the heart of everything we do? So I'm not going to go on too much now because I actually want to listen to you and I want to hear about your opinions and your questions. So that's it from me for now, but you'll hear a lot about the word fairness and you'll hear a lot about the word community because that's how we go about our business. Thank you.
Lovely intro, starting something by James. Talking about empty chambers, my friend, you were probably in your diapers when I was emptying my pockets, supporting local businesses. Without further ado, I'm Aadil Shaikh. I'm not representing any political party. I'm not going to introduce myself as representing the Workers' Party or the Lib Dems. I'm here to represent you, the people of Brent. And yes, I'm an independent, but I'm not ashamed. I don't have party funds, oodles of cash, or donors helping me with my campaigning. I'm a hard-working man, a married man, father of 2 kids, who's using his own funds for his campaign material. And why, may you ask, did I choose to stand as an independent? Well, there's a simple reason for that. It's because I'm tired of the lies, I'm tired of the failures and U-turns of pretty much every major party that claims to be bringing about change. Talking about representation in the chambers, sorry James, forgive me for that, but you only have 1 MP. So let's not get too ahead of ourselves. There are several independents rising across the length and breadth of this country. And there's a good reason behind that. Never in the time of British politics has there been such a distant demographic of voters who do not know who to vote for. Never has there been a time where there has been such a fractured opinion on who is the right party to lead this country. Never has there been a time of people saying that we are so undecided that we don't want to vote. Yet there is an option for everyone. There is hope. There's a hope in the form of independents who are standing from their local constituencies, who know the local issues of their borough. I've been a lifelong Brent resident. I know several issues that concern my constituency, not least ranging from education. How many schools are suffering because of high pupil to teacher ratios? Our healthcare services are faltering because our local NHS trusts are not adequately funded. Our streets are not safer. Crime rates in Brent East and Brent overall have gone up significantly over the past 5 years. And of course, there has been so much division sowed from the top of the elites in Parliament who wish to sow discord rather than unite us in our diversity. What I bring to the table is experience in industry. I've been in finance for the past 20 years. I understand geopolitics. I understand how financial decisions and the repercussions of recklessness, leverage, impact the common man, because I am indeed a common man like you. My pledge to the people of Brent is that I will be the loudest voice in the chambers to bring about issues that are significant, issues that are more relevant and important to the people of Brent. Not just that though. I don't have to toe any party line. I'm not afraid of being sacked. I'm not afraid of the party being taken away from me for raising my voice for equality and justice against oppression. When it comes to parties representing local constituencies, there's a slight misunderstanding of power versus relevance. And let me explain to you. Party politics is not a one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to local constituencies. You'll have a square peg and you'll have a circular toilet inside, right? What I'm trying to impress upon you is that national manifestos may not be in the best interest of the local constituents of Brent. And to that end, I'm open to your questions. I'm happy to listen from my constituents, and I promise that if brought and elected as an MP, I will do my utmost best to represent you in the best possible way.
Thank you, Jonny. Now, just when Martin arrives later on, do you guys have any objection for him to say his piece when he comes?
Not at all.
Questions? You're right.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, great. All right, then we'll move on to the first category of questions, and they're to do with public health services. Okay. Are you committed to supporting health and public services with a substantial increase in funding and investment to the NHS, including health and social care services? If you could start from that end, that'd be great.
I'm absolutely committed to bringing in local funding, additional enhanced funding for the local trusts. Not least because our healthcare service is a right to every normal citizen, not a privilege. Our healthcare system has been in disarray for the past several decades due to poor governance and the lack of funding. We're out here funding wars in international waters, international territories, yet our NHS waiting times have gone through the roof. There needs to be a serious review of the NHS's inner workings, and we need to ensure that we procure the right providers, the right contracts, and the right framework to bring about real change and real efficiency in the NHS. We need to bring about several schemes to encourage and bring about more funding for schemes for international students, for instance, in universities, to have a quota where once they graduate, they can become doctors, make it easier for them. And several other local NHS trusts need immediate funding, and we need to ensure that that is done on an immediate basis without obviously skimming on critical key services.